When we were here, we didn't really talk about it. We didn't talk about the context in which we were working.
At a kind of educational level, at a training level, at a policy level, we hadn't really properly understood about what the impact of the violence was on people.
The research is the first time that I think people have actually taken stock of what social workers did.
And I thought, brilliant, for the first time, social workers are given a voice and are able to tell their stories.
I suppose as I understood it, the research was about learning from the experience of social workers during the Troubles, exploring a bit how that impacted on social work, how we managed to continue to deliver a service and what sort of service that was.
The research was a real opportunity to just open this up a wee bit, have a look at what social work actually did to improve the outcomes for service users.
I think it also captures how we were normalising working in an abnormal working environment. I think that it's an opportunity to highlight the resilience of the social work profession.
I wanted to have the opportunity to contribute to something about why we can't as a profession be passive. We have to be active in our response to being change agents and making a difference.
The health and social services, individual workers were carrying their own anxieties about the Troubles. And meanwhile, they were also trying to provide services to a community that was in conflict.
It sort of brought back to me how stressful things were, but you dealt with it, you know, and you laughed off stuff like that. It was a measure of how stressed I was that I thought for a moment that this shadow that I saw through the glass window on my front door maybe was someone coming to get me because of events that had happened the day before.
In 2019, we still have sectarianism. I can't remember how many peace walls and defensive barriers, as so many of them are called, but we still have, with communities and yet another generation growing up in the shadow of those, significantly affecting their mental health.
I talk to lots of very young social work students and sometimes don't see the historical context of some of the behaviours and needs they encounter within families. They may encounter someone with a disability, but the origins of that disability may lie in the conflict.
You only have to scratch a little bit under the surface and there's still quite a lot of tension around your identity and who you represent.
In the 80s, 90s, there were concerns about social work practice. Did we need to look at how we were responding to people from the different religious communities, being sensitive to people's backgrounds, showing respect, acknowledging where they're coming from. Nobody really tracked that to see how well that actually got embedded into practice. So the idea was, as social workers, are we working with both communities in an anti-sectarian way? And I think it was revisiting that and seeing where we are.
We're informed by victims and survivors. We're learning a lot more about the impact of a divided society. We need to learn from practitioners who went through similar experiences, to not have the voice of social workers in there. It's like the final piece of a jigsaw.
I feel that the research will be able to be used both locally, nationally and internationally to really harness the energies of social work to make it drive forward further changes.
We learnt a lot about ourselves. I think we sort of grew as a profession during the conflict. As a profession that values reflective learning, I think we should reflect on those times and look at what made us resilient, what we got right, what we didn't get right.
As the situation in Northern Ireland has improved, we're on a journey to recognising what we considered as the norm. We've begun to understand that as very abnormal. In a sense, I nearly see it as part of a recovery process.
And I think if we don't do that, we're losing, I think, a vital part of our social work history.